that movie
was
better than it has any right to be, I think. I mean, with history on our side and with the trailers coming in, I was expecting so much worse than we got. And what we got was a surprisingly fun popcorn movie.
Yeah. It was, I mean, we didn't need popcorn. It was good enough you didn't need to have popcorn, but it was a popcorn movie.
I mean, like, going in, I was fearing all the typical things. Like, they were going to focus on the characters too much, and I think they kind of did, but at the very least, they made them not annoying. Yeah, like really. Matthew Broderick in the last Godzilla movie.
They didn't resort to comedy.
No, they didn't.
I think that was the big thing about this movie is that, well, no, they did.
No. My thing about comedic relief is, in movies in general, is that it's fine if it's actually funny. Usually comedic relief is not funny, therefore defeats the purpose. I mean,
they didn't have to resort to...
But they didn't have to. This movie didn't have to.
No, they didn't have to. They didn't, for the most part.
No, they played it straight-faced as serious. Yeah, although, the hokey bits kind of poked through, like, when they first name him Godzilla, when Ken Watanabe...
Oh, God, I loved the...
when Ken Watanabe, who plays a Japanese archaeologist, basically, who knows, awesome. Who knows everything about Godzilla.
Every freaking cut of him, like, every time it cuts to him, it's like this. Or
like every
or looking up.
Or like he's doing the whole taking off the glasses slowly. Mother of God. Which I don't get. Like, if he needs glasses, why does he never wear them throughout the rest of the movie? Like, at the beginning,
because he can't believe his eyes. Can't believe his glasses either.
But no, it was.
I need a new lens.
Besides the hokiness that shines through, because it's a Godzilla movie, you can't avoid the hokiness. Mm-hmm. You just can't.
And he does all of the plot moments of discovery. All of the. Oh God! Like, see where to start. I think it's following them, or I think that it's they feed off of it, or they lay eggs.
They're calling out.
They're using sonar.
Like, Ken Watanabe had like all the exposition.
Yeah, every exposition scene was.
He had all the exposition scenes, but he sold it with if he knew he was reading kind of hokey dialogue, he didn't show it. He sold the shit out of it.
He knew what it was he had to do.
He knew what he had to do, and he knew how he would come off. But I think he kind of embraced it in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't do that annoying. Like, the pitfall for these types of roles for actors is to knowing wink at the camera, or kind of play it up too far, where it becomes like, yes, I realize that I am a stereotyped character, and I'm reading these cliched lines. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. And then it becomes not fun. It really doesn't. So, but he had the good sense to play it straight, like the original hokey. Well, let's face facts. The original hokey Godzilla movies. Mm-hmm. Every actor, like, if you watch a Godzilla movie nowadays, you can't accept the fact that everyone was doing their jobs very seriously, especially the first Godzilla film. I mean, they were trying to treat that as about the horrors of nuclear war. That was what the original Godzilla was about, and but you can't really get beyond that because it's a man in a giant rubber monster outfit. Mm-hmm. And they're saying some pretty ridiculous things. And to this movie's credit, it knows where it came from, and it kind of continues that spirit and tradition where, like, they'll say some weird, stupid things. Like, if you know thing one about science, you're just going like, ugh. But at the same time, they're so invested in it, like the characters or at least the actors are so invested in it that you're just kind of, it doesn't bother you.
Yes.
I mean, that's like when they were talking about like the history of like these creatures, and here's the big shocker, it's not just Godzilla. Yeah, so
Oh, so I was gonna say, part of the plot was eggs, right? And
Yeah.
you're like, oh no, not again.
No,
But with
no.
a little twist.
no, not really a twist. I mean, if you
Well, a twist in what you would expect.
well, yeah, because if you're going by like the American Godzilla film, where it was just the American military against Godzilla, then you're just
It's like if I were to tell you Godzilla and there's eggs in it, you automatically, you cringe. But that's what I'm saying. They did use that, but they used it in a good way.
they used it in a good way. They used they never name him, but I have a feeling that one of them was supposed to be Mothra. I mean, a winged.
I knew that these had to represent one of the monsters.
One of them, like it's a winged monster that is insect-like and lays eggs. It's Mothra. I mean, they don't call him Mothra, but it's Mothra.
Yeah.
And it's sure as hell not Ghidorah or Ghidorah. So it's, I mean, you're kind of running out of monsters that have wings and lays eggs. So I guess that's sort of our. That is our
Spoilers.
Just spoilers, but anyone
Like,
who watched,
like if you know about if you've been watching it all, then you know
you
that.
know. But all right, before we get too heavily invested in it, like if you're just wanting to know whether to see it or not, yeah, see it in theaters.
Absolutely. This is a theater movie.
This is a definite theater
You can
movie.
go spend your money at the theater and know that you'll get something out of it.
But I think like going into the movie, it kind of begins very slowly for me, and but then, and it kind of like the bottom kind of fell out for me because Bryan Cranston kind of dies by the end of the first act. Mm-hmm. And
of course, the best actor by far in this movie.
The best actor in the movie.
And he does show his chops. Boy, does he do that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he really pulls it all out for a Godzilla movie.
I mean, like, his character is completely utilitarian. Like, he's just there to basically get our main hero to go out to Japan. But, I mean, like, Bryan Cranston is a workman-like, consummate actor. Like, if he's doing this for a paycheck, it's only because that's his job. I mean, like, he has, like, no sense of cynicism when it comes to acting. Like, he doesn't do it just for the money. He does it for the money because that's his job. I mean, you don't tell someone, like, who's a baker, it's like, oh, you just bake for the money.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if I wasn't getting
money... would I make myself meals and...
Yeah, exactly. Like he is the consummate professional actor, and it shines through even in this role where he is completely utilitarian. But they had the good sense to write him some pathos at the beginning of the movie, where during the initial shock, I think that was set in 1999, where he was working in a nuclear power plant in Japan, which in of itself is kind of weird, but he works in a nuclear reactor in Japan, and then Mothra. I'm just going to call him Mothra. I don't care if he went by a different name. I'm just going to call him Mothra.
Oh, they were calling them in general. I don't know.
Like Muto.
Thank you.
They were calling them Mutos, which is.
But I like Mothra better because that's what it is.
Because I mean, like he wasn't a moth, but he was a giant winged insect-like creature that. To
distinguish between the two, Mothra,
yeah.
And then Muto, I guess.
Yeah. To distinguish between the two, because there's another one. Yeah. But Mothra. I'm already getting confused. Mothra crashes the nuclear reactor's party and begins to siphon off the nuclear reactor because it's revealed that these creatures feed off nuclear energy, or radiation rather. Yeah. And that's a huge departure from the original mythos where Godzilla was created by nuclear explosions or nuclear testing.
That's on the trailer.
It's in
revealed. And that's one of the reasons I was so excited, because I liked that twist. Sorry, I keep using the word twist.
But it's...
I liked that change.
That reimagining.
Reimagining.
Because, well, like, it was preying off the 1950s fear of nuclear energy, especially Japanese fear of that, because, it happened like 10 years ago, so like the fear is still fresh in their minds. So, that's and it stems from that sort of cultural appropriation. But here, we're about 2 generations removed from that. We don't really connect to that. So we still have that nuclear plot device, but it's used as a sort of fuel for these creatures. And that kind of leads into some kind of stupid pseudoscience talk when they're talking about like how these creatures existed on Earth for millions of years as apex predators, but while the Earth was more radioactive.
At a time when the Earth was exceptionally 10 times more, in fact, to be specific, radioactive.
You'd think that they would just harvest on bananas because bananas are naturally radioactive.
I was getting ready to bite my tongue during this whole, during the whole explanation of how these creatures fit into the history of
the world.
Yeah, to the entire existence of the world. Which I was trying to figure out, okay, what phase of the world were these creatures living in?
They feasted off T-Rexes.
When was the world 10 times more radioactive? I don't know. And I'm not asking the questions because I'm not asking how a creature that size can support how its bones can support its weight. I'm not getting into that because that's the bad path to go down with these movies.
Like you're just basically ruining the movie at that point.
You're just ruining it for yourself. But what I was very happy about is that there wasn't a single Godzilla or any other paw print in this movie. No paw prints. There was no point where people were, in a big crater and then they, oh, it's a paw print. Helicopter up, bird's eye.
No.
That wasn't it.
No, but another thing that I think what this movie, its main feather in its cap is, it avoided doing things. Like its main strength was that it didn't do things. Like it didn't have too many fights with the military against Godzilla because that gets tiring really, really quickly.
Where they felt the pull, they resisted.
Yeah,
they said okay, rein it in a little bit on the.
There was no haphazard general who's like, we gotta detonate this bomb over America. Yeah. They didn't have that. That would have been so easy for them to do that, but they didn't. They just had a general who said right, we may
have to resort.
We may have to resort to that.
That's reasonable.
That is completely reasonable. And he wasn't a monster. There was no human villain in this movie.
And they still touched on I guess the inherent villain is
just the inherent villain is Mothra and Muta.
Yeah, that's so great. Yeah, that's such a nice throwback to the classic Godzilla movies. That's what this was. It was a throwback to the awesome classic Godzilla movies of your childhood that you've been waiting for a new one.
I think Godzilla,
here it is.
Even though they didn't really have any kind of character to Godzilla, I think you got the notion that Godzilla is not fighting really the humans is because he knows that right now they produce his food. So why would he kill the humans if they're the only ones that are producing nuclear radiation? If the world is
he's not really getting it I don't think he's actually getting it from them.
No,
because that's why they said that. Oh, they also said that Godzilla, since the Earth is no longer 10 times as radioactive, 10 times less radioactive, that he moved down to the core of the Earth, get closer to the core of the Earth where the radiation is higher.
Well,
which means he doesn't get it from us.
Well, he doesn't get it from us, but I think he also knows that we're more beneficial to him as a potential food supply rather than.
I would like to.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of part of what I wanted to. What I was telling you earlier. We usually don't talk before we get on this, but sometimes a movie leaves us just we're the feeling, just bursting at the seams too. Yeah. And should I just go to that point, or do you want to wait?
No, let's wait till the end build up to it. But suffice it to say that the movie doesn't really give him so much as a character as he's always kept in the background. You never see too much of him, and that's another credit to this movie. He knows the movie knows to only show parts of Godzilla leading up to the final reveal of Godzilla, and it's always teasing the viewers. Even when Mothra is revealed, even when Muto is revealed, they have skirmishes, but then the camera never focuses on their skirmishes. Yes. They're focusing on what the humans are doing to trying to avoid getting between them. And at first I'm thinking oh, God damn it, why? And it leads to a very, very
Yeah, it's monster fights happening. Let's go over here. Let's get away from the monster fight.
It's too exciting. We gotta get away from the monster fight. But it leads to the most, like, the biggest plot hole in this movie. They're in Hawaii. Godzilla's fighting Mothra in Hawaii. That's when we get the full reveal of Godzilla. They start screaming, and camera whips back to the main characters, who looks like a beefed up Elijah Wood.
Yeah.
His family in San Francisco watching the fight on the news in San Francisco. And then cut to the next day in Hawaii where the destruction everywhere. And where the fuck is Godzilla and Mothra? And what the fuck happened? Did they just kind of go like, good fight. Well, see you tomorrow? See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, they're pulling each other's hair and they're like, okay, we'll count to 3, and then we'll both let go, and then we'll just call it quits.
Okay.
Or
1, 2, 3. Oh, okay. Tomorrow. We'll really go at it tomorrow, okay? Like, and he just runs away.
Yeah.
That pissed me off so fucking much when that happened.
Yeah, I know.
Because I wasn't sure where this movie was going. Because I wasn't sure if this movie was like, they knew that we needed to see the monster fight.
Yeah.
We wanted to see it, but then no. It was
very clear that the movie was taking that away.
Yeah, it was like your heart's pumping, and you're seeing the full figure of Godzilla, and you're all like, and they're about to lunge at each other, and then movie shuts it fuck down right there. It's just like the movie's just like kind of
so much so
tongue in your shaft, just tongue in your shaft, getting you half chub, and then right as you getting some blood flow, right as you get past half chub, it just like punches you right in the dick, and then it gives you a look like saying, "Not yet." Oh,
not yet.
Fuck that movie so much for that. Oh, you're blue balling me, monster movie. You're blue balling me.
Just tied it up.
Another thing that surprised me about this movie, I mean, going by the trailers, was that I thought they were going to keep like Godzilla a government secret. I was like, how the fuck do you keep Godzilla a secret? It's a 500-foot monster lizard. And to the credit of the movie, they tried to keep it under wraps, but at first, and then, you know, all hell breaks loose by the second act. And
Nessie sighting disproven by...
I know. But they did, by the beginning of the second act, they're just like, well, cat's out of the bag. I guess we just got to keep it, or I guess we're just going to focus on defense. I'm like, thank you, movie. Thank you for realizing that this is stupid and just leaving it all together. Because, like, in the cell phone age, like, how can anything be kept a secret?
It's globalized.
Exactly.
You cannot. Everybody knows. As soon as one person, just takes one person.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of freaking people getting this.
Yeah, like this. Like they start off in fucking Japan of all places. With a population density thicker than your fist clenching after that fucking Hawaiian scene.
Oh god, that scene was so bad that they even showed it on a television screen. What little you got of it.
I know, it was like a little television screen watched by
this little kid watching.
Like the main character's little boy.
Yeah,
he's just watching it with the cheesiest news graphics I've ever seen. They must have spent $50 on like some pre-made layer in Photoshop to do it.
Oh god! Speaking of cheesy little, the beginning credits.
Oh,
did you notice the little what they were doing with that? Next to the cast and crew on the credits, they would do the typical
black lining. They would censor
the whiteout censoring thing. It would show for like a brief half second on a person's an actor or effect person's name, like Illuminati or something I saw out of the corner of my eye, and then one of them said like a cult specialism. It's like what? And it whited out.
Yeah,
I've never seen that done before.
I know, and that really got me like on my like, oh my god, they're not going to do this. They're not going to try to keep Godzilla fucking sacred. I mean, we already tried this in Transformers 2, and that was stupid. But
a neat effect. I thought that was kind of.
It was a neat effect, but that was sort of. that did nothing to like stymie my fears about this movie. But the first pitfall of the movie was that, excuse me, Bryan Cranston's character just doesn't have a lot to do, and that's why they kind of killed him off. Spoilers. They killed him off like at the end of the first act, and like he served the plot to justify the main character being there, and well, like even as a purely utilitarian character, as purely as a, what's the word I'm looking for? He's just there as a device. He's just basically there as a device. But with all that said, Brian,
until he comes back later on
as a gigantic,
giant Bryan Cranston,
giant Dr. Manhattan.
To yes, he comes out of the ocean near the San Francisco Bridge, just like Manhattan style, naked giant Bryan Cranston, and he's just
so basically he's like
avenging his wife.
So he's like Poseidon in Jason of the Argonauts,
exactly.
where it's like the bridge is collapsing and he's holding it up.
No, it didn't really happen.
But no, like a part of you wanted it to happen.
That's what I was, secretly happening. I knew it wouldn't.
But no, it wasn't to be. And his character dies, and I'm thinking, that's kind of a waste of your Bryan Cranston. On the other hand, it's not like he didn't do a good job with the role, and it's not like his character was unnecessary. It was just...
Damn, he sells his roles.
Yeah, he does. And
no matter what.
Like, I'm glad he was in the movie, and I'm glad that they treated his character with... Like, they gave a utilitarian character much more character depth than they really needed to. But, that was... It was, like, glad to see you. Wish you could have stayed longer, Cranston.
Yeah.
And then from there, it was the Ken Watanabe show.
Well, I mean, so you knew there was only so much you could do with an actor like him in a Godzilla movie.
Yeah, I know.
But it had his mark of approval.
Yeah, true. But then it was the Ken Watanabe show, and it was... like, he owned every scene, like, with that Ken Watanabe, like, I shit bricks face. There was not a harder man on this planet than Ken Watanabe. The stereotypical disapproving Japanese father face.
Yes, the seen through time look.
Ken Watanabe has it down to a science.
Yes, he does.
But like he pops in the movie basically just to be like, his line in the movie is, the folly of man, or what was it? Not the folly of man, but the arrogance of man is thinking that he's in control of nature and not the other way around. And I thought that was going to be like some kind of hack environmental message, but no, it's just used within the context of sometimes nature
points out the folly of man.
Oh, Godzilla! I am so pissed they didn't use that song in the movie.
Yeah, no. It could have even been like a ringtone or something. It wasn't in there at all.
Although, technically speaking, if Godzilla is a secret that was known before, how would Blue Oyster Cult know how to write a song about it?
Because they're a cult. They're Blue Oyster Cult.
Or some non-diegetic sound. Just playing us out of the credits. That would have been appreciative, but I guess they're not.
Kind of like how they didn't put Werewolves of London in American Werewolf in London. It's just one of those things. Maybe they thought it was too obvious. I don't know. But still wanted it, though. Awesome.
But, so the main character, the shift goes to his son, who is basically Bryan Cranston's son, who is a bomb disposal guy in the army. And he kind of gets roped into this whole Godzilla fiasco. I'm surprised how fast this movie can move. Because it never drags. It never drags, but it's always building.
It starts to get there.
Yeah.
But then it does something.
Yeah. So it builds from there. It keeps building that now that Mothra is released, he's calling out a mate, the Muto that we talked about earlier. Mm-hmm. And she apparently was housed. Was he? No, it wasn't housed, but she was she's been feasting off the nuclear waste depot out in Las Vegas, and she has a scene of just tearing up Las Vegas.
Yeah,
which I got to admit that was pretty fun. That was a good use of your destruction movie trope right there. And they're all three, Godzilla, Mothra and Muto are meeting in San Francisco. Now, we're about an hour's drive north of San Francisco, and so we know the area pretty well. During the climactic fight,
I used to live there.
yeah. During the climactic fight, it's raining in San Francisco.
Not unusual.
Not unusual. Yeah. It's a hard rain can fall. In Oakland, where they're setting up base for their big confrontation. Sunny day.
Bright and sunny.
Bright and sunny day in Oakland. Now, for those of you who don't know, San Francisco and Oakland are about a stone's throw away from each other. They're literally a bridge apart.
Yeah.
So if it's raining in San Francisco and desert dry in Oakland,
Like clouds, it's dark. It's dark in friggin' San Francisco.
yeah, like this was like Sin City level of rain.
Yeah. It is not like a sunny day in the summer in Oakland.
In Oakland,
It was really weird.
that was
I think that's where it got lazy.
that's where it got lazy, and I think that's where, like people, like I think that they when they were shooting, I don't think they were shooting in Oakland. First of all, I don't think they were shooting in Oakland because no part of Oakland looks that green.
Yeah. Oh god, and there was the part where they said that it was the Hawaii
Oh yeah,
airport,
yeah.
but it was actually, what was it, SFO?
Yeah, it was SFO. There was a shot leading to the Hawaiian airport, but I've been to SFO enough times to know that was fucking San Francisco International Airport. I have no idea why they couldn't shoot the front of Hawaii. I know why they couldn't, because it wasn't all that impressive looking. So they just, since they were already had a camera crew in SFO in San Francisco to shoot scenes,
it just,
shoot.
It was at night, so I guess they were kind of hoping you wouldn't really.
But then, like, here's the thing: like, San Francisco International Airport is right by the bay. It's right by the San Francisco Bay. If you look behind the facade of the the Honolulu International Airport, you see that, hey, look, there's San Francisco Bay right behind you. So
the weakest parts of the movie was these locational
like these locational goofs,
inconsistencies.
Like, so they're going from Las Vegas to San Francisco. I guess going over I-80, going over I-80, and the plan is to detonate a nuclear device, lure them to like out into the Pacific Ocean, then detonate a huge nuclear bomb. And apparently Ken Watanabe said, like, we already tried that, it doesn't work. And they're just saying, like, those were kiloton bombs. These are megaton bombs.
Or was it megaton, kiloton?
No, like back then it was a kiloton and a megaton these days. And they're saying, like, nothing could survive that blast. And they say they feed off nuclear energy. That's why it's good bait. But they keep trying to, like, you don't understand. And then finally the army, like the general in charge, just says, what do you want us to do? Nothing? And that's when Ken Watanabe just says, like, Godzilla, let him fight. He is here to restore
Nature has a way of restoring balance. And I believe that Godzilla is that
like the great equalizer.
Is the great equalizer. It's basically he's saying, Godzilla is Gaia scientifically, manifest.
But and you're listening to him talk and you're thinking, wow, he's right. If only we get to see it. At least that's how I was thinking. And meanwhile, like the movie knew that it had to focus on the human characters because they need to build that ultimate monster battle in San Francisco. They need to build it, and it's not like Pacific Rim where they have like different like giant monsters to fight. They only had the two, so in order for that fight to work, you need to have one huge destructive battle. You can't just sparse that out. So that's what's with the blue balling. And you're pissed that it's blue balling you, but you're hoping that they'll cut you a break. Like, oh my god, they're never gonna have a monster fight. They're never gonna have a monster fight. And then you hear this plot about like detonating something in San Francisco.
Pacific Rim had way more monster fights than that.
I know, and I think that But I think like having that mindset is not what this movie was.
And
trying
that's
to do.
exactly the point.
And
That this movie was not
trying to do
not specific.
It's not trying to do a Pacific Rim while have nothing but monster fights. No, it leads up to probably the best,
definitely the best single moment of our theater experiences
so far this year. But we'll get to that. And I will say, like, the ending monster fight in San Francisco, maybe my most favorite action scene of the whole year.
I'm right with you there.
Mm-hmm. They're like better than anything in Captain America.
Oh yeah.
Like better than anything in Noah.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Noah had some pretty kick-ass moments, better than anything in Noah. Oh,
best single moment.
Best single moment too. Best scene, best moment. Two separate. And they're all part of each other, but we'll get to it. But as I was trying to say, like they knew that they had to focus on the human characters. What with this direction they were taking with the monster fights. So they knew that like the characters themselves weren't the reason we're going to be watching this movie. So like, how do you deal with that? You can't focus on the monsters. You have to focus on the human characters, but nobody wants to focus on the human characters. Yeah. So they struck a compromise by just having them be unaffected. Mm-hmm. Like they had their human moment at the beginning when there were no monsters. But when the monsters came, they just became like audience surrogates.
This is very much a movie where humans were observers.
Yeah.
Where they were,
like they had their own plan, and ultimately their plan sort of worked.
Yeah.
But up till then,
humans are witnesses in this movie.
Humans are witnesses, and they're not
just like us.
None of them are idiots. None of them are stupid. None of them are hateful.
Yeah, it's not like their own error. It's not their own error that makes them not important or anything. It's just that the movie knows what we want to see.
Yeah,
the movie knows what's important to the audience. This is Godzilla. This is a movie about Godzilla.
And Godzilla doesn't show up for a huge chunk of that time, but
not about the dumb relationships of people surrounding the circumstances of Godzilla.
No. It was just enough to hang a narrative on, but not so overbearing that you're just wondering, like, go back to the monsters. They go back to the monsters plenty.
Yeah.
Not fighting, but there's like great tension moments, like when they're in like on the train tracks trying to get the nuclear warhead to San Francisco, and they have to go through a tunnel because they're not sure. They have to send out a scout troop to make sure that the bridge has not been collapsed because there's collapsed railways all around.
Which were some good scenes on their own. Just
like, and then like there's Muto, and she's looking around trying.
It's very much almost like a one of those Disneyland rides with the screen or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
You really get a sense of how small humans are in this movie.
And that was
you get to go. You're basically there's a lot of times where you're the camera where you're seeing through them. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of times where you're always down. You're always really low, and you're always looking up, waiting for that giant monstrous claw to come down and smash you, and it's really awesome.
Yeah, it is. This
you really feel
this.
You feel that like you're there.
Yeah, this is besides being like a very, I think, well-paced movie. This was also a very well-shot movie.
Yes.
I mean, the camera work is just exceptionally well done, especially capturing the sheer magnitude of these characters, magnitude of the monsters, rather, and how insignificant and small the human characters are. So, like, the climax is that they got Mothra grabs a hold of the nuclear bomb that they were planning to detonate over the Pacific Ocean, then gives it to Muto, say like, "Here, this shall be for our baby."
Oh no, it's the other way around.
No. Mothra gives it to Muto because Muto has the egg clutch, has the eggs. The female is Muto. Mothra is the male.
Was that right? Is that right?
Yeah, Mothra was the flying one, and Mothra was
the right. That's right.
And Muto has like this clutch of eggs, but she needs some nuclear energy to basically radioactivity to basically have her babies. Her babies need to feed. So Mothra gives her the nuclear bomb. And
then there's the strain, there's the conflict, the fact that these bug monster things are going to populate. And I mean, you know, they're already destroying the world. Two of them with like hundreds of more babies. It's,
on the
you know,
way.
it's the apocalypse, and it's going to be probably it's going to be an apocalypse for the monsters themselves, because those things are going to have nothing more to feed on. You know, with that many of those giant ass creatures,
but you know,
breeding like that.
Yeah, but the monster doesn't know that.
It's the end of the world. But God, you mean the monster? Well, no, of course the monster doesn't know
know
that.
that,
They're not.
Yeah, they're not sentient enough.
They're bugs that they're just doing what they do. You know, in that way, they're not villains. They're just
Forces of nature.
Forces of nature. Godzilla, on the other hand, there's a bit of a divine tap into this monster.
Yeah, like they put the god into Godzilla.
He doesn't go. Yeah, here's Godzilla's drive is not. It's not instinct. It's not so much instinctual as it is. How do I put it? He's not going after the bugs as a meal.
No, he's
even
not.
though they do store radiation, and he does feed on radiation. Mm-hmm. But he's not going after them for that, because when he kills them, and yes, he fucking kills them, but he doesn't eat them after he kills them.
No, so like he's just...
And he doesn't eat the power plants or anything like he does in some of the other movies. He doesn't eat any bombs. And I'll get to that thing. Yeah. I have an opinion about that. But he is completely... There is a greater power at work here.
Mm-hmm. Like that's why I think that like Godzilla, the movie's treating Godzilla as an intelligent being, or at the very least, there's something more to Godzilla than just being a force of nature.
Yeah,
and I like that. And I like that take on him. Mm-hmm. And so all points meet in San Francisco, and that's when it happens. It finally happens. The main hero finds the egg clutch, the egg sac, and then just torches the whole cavern with a exploding tanker. So humans did something useful, which is funny. And then the funniest thing, while we finally have our monster fight 2 against Godzilla, the Muto has Godzilla by the neck, and then she does one of these. Oh baby! Starts running over to her egg sac, and
they both kick it. And they both go over. They get the better of Godzilla at a certain point.
They have Godzilla by the throat.
And boy, Godzilla he really does hold his own. He kicks a lot of ass. I mean, he does like a choke slam on one of them at some point.
Oh no!
Grabs by the throat and just slams him down. You know. And then they cut away from it. And you're like.
But then, like, they know, like the movie's just like, oh, you thought that was good. The best is yet to come, but you gotta wait for it.
You got the string, you're pulling it up. It's almost there.
So, this is the moment that surprised me the most. Mothra swoops in, hopefully, he's thinking for the kill. Godzilla tail whips his ass into the building next to it and then impales him on some girders.
Yes.
And the audience
smashes him into the freaking building with his tail. Just goes right through it.
And then the audience just erupts with yeah.
This was the biggest round of applause I've ever heard that wasn't after a movie, but during the movie.
Yeah.
Damn, they erupted.
They were just like, oh, like, yes! Because they were experiencing the same thing we were experiencing.
Yeah,
the movie was blue-balling them. But then there was release.
It's like being at a sports bar on Super Bowl, you know. It was huge.
It was huge. But then, here's the thing. That was just the pre-cum. That wasn't the orgasm. But, like, here, the funniest thing to me was, like, after he does that tail whip, Godzilla collapses because of his wounds, and then, like...
We trust the movie at this point, so we don't let it all go at once.
No.
We are able to hold ourselves back at this point. We understand. We're in it. We know you'll treat us well.
You know, and then, like... But the Godzilla collapses from his wounds, and I swear to Christ, I heard, like, several women in the back go, oh, no! They were so invested in Godzilla as a character, even though...
and you know, did they get Godzilla right?
Yeah.
Just as Godzilla?
Just as Godzilla.
Because they kept the hulking, lumbering monster, ginormous monster from before, from the first movies. Mm-hmm. He's bulky. He's not he's not just another Tyrannosaurus Rex.
No, he's not like...
With a growth
Yeah, he's not like Roland Emmerich's Godzilla. Yeah.
He's bulky. But the face, they really got right. It wasn't it didn't suffer from, you know, like the Smeagol effect or anything of being too big of eyes and too relatable in that way. But he was just the right balance of horrifying and, you know, relatable.
Yeah, like
sentient.
Like you can see there's intelligence in the eyes, and you can see
There was dignity in that phase.
There was a little bit of dignity in that phase. But the best is so yet to come. So they managed to evacuate the bomb onto a boat, but the boat is chortling out because these creatures are capable of generating EMP and just shorting circuits. So with the bomb on
yes, you know, you gotta have that because it explains why these giant monsters aren't being able to caught on video.
Yeah, I think that was a plot point that probably that was a plot point that was in the early drafts of the script, but then someone was like, "Oh, let's just take that bullshit out." But they kept the EMP in, so the bomb is on a digital clock or on an analog timer, and the guy and our main character is not able to defuse it. He's not able to defuse it safely, so he has to get it out of San Francisco Bay and into the Pacific Ocean. But then here it happens. Muto's just hovering over the tiny boat. She wants that bomb to eat, and you're thinking, oh no.
Oh yes, and there's definitely they definitely kind of insinuate that she noticed that the guy set her eggs on fire.
Yeah.
Beefy sorry, not Shia.
Beefy Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeef. No, Beefy Elijah Wood. Elijah Wood. He gets an idea at a certain point in the movie to, hey, let's explode them eggs.
Yeah, he explodes. He torches them eggs.
So yeah, he definitely was he was integral to the plot.
Like he had something good. He had something good to employ. So she's hovering over him. And what can he do? He's like, his leg's hamburger. He reaches for his pistol, just like, oh, like that's all he can do. And then she twitches. Godzilla's back. She grabs her by the throat, opens her jaws, and he hooks up like a cat trying to scare a predator. You can see his spikes light up, and I just wanted to scream, wait for it! Wait for it!
Don't let him have it yet!
And then
milk it!
Atomic breath right into her jaw. Atomic breath right into her jaw. The audience was like childhood bedlam. There was like people were just like slamming on their seats. They're like, yes!
Yeah.
The atomic breath literally shears her head off. Godzilla's literally holding her head.
Yes, grabs the jaw apart. You think Godzilla's just gonna snap it in two, which is gruesome enough. Just breathes
atomic breath
right down the throat, singes the entire body from the inside out, completely sears off the head. I'm just repeating him at this point, but it's awesome.
And it's just holding the head.
Yes,
holding the head, and I just wanted to see fatality.
Yeah.
And
then the roar.
The roar
and it tosses the head into a building or something.
Does right into the harbor, and you're just like,
and then
he collapses.
And then the building falls on him.
The building falls, and he collapses. Yes. And our heroes collapse.
And then everybody theaters,
no. So they managed to evacuate the bomb out of the harbor, though. And then Godzilla is just like crumbled. Like it's the day after. Godzilla's just, just covered in debris.
Oh, he's dead at this point.
Yeah, he's dead. It's like, oof. Ken Watanabe, who pretty much was just like if Bryan Cranston was the heart of the movie, he was the soul of the movie. And he's just looking at Godzilla with odd wonder. But then Godzilla shakes awake, and he picks himself up, and there's this huge TV screen in the background that says, Godzilla, savior of our city, king of monsters, and he just walks right into that San Francisco Bay.
He just swaggers out of the city. And then turns back and... Speaking of which, gonna definitely have to have a meme or somewhat of The Rock for that one scene where he screams and the horn goes off and they do Godzilla.
and then like there's these two moments that Godzilla has with the two human characters, with beefy Elijah Wood and with Ken Watanabe, where they give each other knowing looks, like so you can get that light of intelligence behind Godzilla, and then he walks into the sea. Credits.
Yep. As soon as the last spike on his back goes underwater, they just turn it off. Go
Like,
right to credits.
It's like you got your monster fight.
Drop mic. Done.
Oh, recounting that movie.
You want to throw me a towel?
Recounting the movie, I think I liked it more now that I recounted it. Now that I really think about it, and just you can't watch this movie on a scene by scene basis. The reason why the end monster fight scene is so good is because the movie just plots it along so well. It's building it up to that climax. It's like Straw Dogs. It's like there's so much like tedium in that movie, and then the ending fight happens, and it was like all your primal rage gets out. It fits the theme and the narrative of that movie, and it fits Godzilla here so very well. Yes. I think, like I said, I like this movie even more now that I've really recounted on it and think about it. What about you?
You can like a movie less after you've recounted on it. You can, and for me, it's the same thing.
Really?
It really is. Not a lot more, just a little more. Because it was. I knew right then and there I loved this movie. Well, very much liked it.
Very much liked it. This is the best
Godzilla movie yet, I think.
Well, I don't know if I can say that for sure, because there's a lot of Godzilla. Excuse me, a lot of Godzilla movies I haven't seen. Although
that's true, I haven't seen all the Godzilla movies.
I haven't seen all the Godzilla, but definitely the best Godzilla movie I've seen.
Yes.
And I've seen the fun ones, and I've seen I've seen the
classic original.
I've seen the classic original. I've seen the fun ones. I've seen the Roland Emmerich one, which was more annoying than anything. But, and I guess that's kind of a low bar when you really when you get right down to brass tacks. But this was a fun, perfectly well-made movie.
Yes, and it didn't butcher any classic Led Zeppelin songs either.
You're still sore about that?
Dude, it was listed. That was listed in. I think it was a segment on. Was it VH? Was it VH1? Something. One of the top worst 100 moments in rock history. Mm-hmm. I think it was.
Yeah, I can see that. I think I remember that.
That single. That's
like,
Kashmir. Yeah, that made it a rap. That was one of the worst moments of rock history.
It's
according to
VH1
or whatever.
Well, yeah, but it's VH1, but
I can't disagree with that.
Like, yeah, I suppose that if one must put let's say a memoriam, or at least let's put a scapegoat on that fucking movie, it's between Matthew Broderick and that song. But I think you wanted to...
Godzilla was Tyrannosaurus Rex in that frickin' movie.
He was not nearly big enough. He was barely bigger than the Brooklyn Bridge.
Yeah.
Or the Verrazano Bridge. I forgot which bridge they
He got trapped on the bridge in the... They wound him up or something.
Yeah,
he got trapped on the frickin' bridge. Godzilla... You don't give a shit about the bridge.
Suspension bridge.
You don't give a shit about the bridge.
Actually, there was
smacks the shit out of it.
Actually, there was a Godzilla movie. I think it was only in Japan, or at least there was a Godzilla movie where they kind of retconned that. It was like they thought that was Godzilla, but it's just somebody else. I know it was such a wimpy Godzilla. This was primo Godzilla.
Yeah.
But you wanted to talk about your thoughts on the bomb?
Oh, yeah. The plot, I felt there was something missing. It was so obvious. They kept a part of the plot out that just was supposed to be there. For me watching the movie, I knew that this was going to happen, and yet it didn't. There's a point where... it's the part where they have the nuclear bomb, and they're, moving it. And Godzilla is fighting Mothra and Muto. And he's getting the shit kicked out of him, right? and you realize he hasn't done his power-up attack yet.
Like,
he hasn't done
his
atomic breath yet. And you're thinking, well, okay. So he feeds on radiation, just like they do. He hasn't eaten anything yet. Oh, yeah, they're going to give him the bomb. They're going to feed Godzilla, and then he's going to do his power-up, but he's going to do his atomic breath attack. That's the plot. It makes sense. They're going to actually realize they've already realized they have to help Godzilla defeat these monsters. He needs to get the bomb and eat it, so they're going to help him out with that. They don't do that. And he doesn't get the bomb. He just, at a certain point later on, he levels up or something, and he's able to use his atomic breath. Where he didn't before, when he was getting the shit kicked out of him.
Well,
and it's just, for me, that just seemed weird that they didn't put that in there. I know it's obvious, and it's...
I don't know. I think that's a little too Popeye. Somebody get him his spinach. Well,
you know, they didn't even... I would have been okay with them not having to feed him it, you know, but maybe putting it some... At least Godzilla could have just gone after it on his own so he could use his power-up attack. So he could use his frickin' atomic breath. So...
Yeah.
It just seemed so obvious. It's like, he hasn't used it all this time. He needs to get some energy. That's just obvious, you know, mechanics right there. They didn't do that.
It's. But I think that's.
I mean, I'm not heartbroken.
No.
It just seems weird to me that they left something so obvious out.
The movie, what it all boils down to is that some things they could have improved upon. This is by far not a perfect movie.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would have loved to see Bryan Cranston more. I would have loved to see...
I would have loved to see giant Bryan Cranston.
I know, but that would have been ridiculous. Well, but we would have loved ridiculous. But that's...
I'll take an edit. You know, I'll take a fan made segment. Please.
Okay. But yeah, there's certain segments of the movie that don't quite work. There's, like I said, there's plot holes. And the characters are, you know, very flat and very broad in relation to what's going on in the story, which is all right. They're not offensive characters. They're not like they don't annoy you. They're just kind of non-entities. They're spectators, as you said. They're witnesses to what's happening, and that's perfectly fine.
Well, I admit that Bryan Cranston and his wife relationship was really pretty heartbreaking because he never really gets to, I don't know, would you say avenge his wife or really do her justice as to... He has a goal.
I think
to figure out what's going on.
I think what he wanted more than anything was just closure.
Yeah, closure. And I guess he kind of got that.
He kind of got closure. He understood, like he found out like what they were hiding and what really what happened when he died. So I get, you know, like all the problems in the movie are just kind of spring from like how they plotted the movie, and in considering what happens in the movie, I'm willing to put up with like all my minor burrs and the irritations with the movie.
Yeah.
Like they didn't get everything right, but what they did get right, they got amazingly right.
Yes.
And for like a summer popcorn flick, that's perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, like this was my first, like the first summer blockbuster I've seen in a very long time, where I went in with low expectations and I was completely surprised. I was completely taken aback.
I had a little bit higher expectation, or I mean, yeah, I had a little bit higher expectations than you did going into it.
Because of that little plot detail about nuclear energy. Yeah,
I was really intrigued by that.
So, and what we wound up getting was a perfectly, more than serviceable, a perfectly fine, a perfectly good summer blockbuster movie. It's a good old-fashioned monster movie that knows what it is and treats its source material with certainly more respect than we've shown it in the past. So, if you have any inclinations, even after our spoiler-filled review, go see this movie. This is not the most fun I've had at the movies. Not the most fun I've had at the movies. No,
it's not the most fun I've had, but it's definitely up there.
It's definitely up there. It's up there with, I mean, like that moment, the atomic breath down the throat moment. probably one of the best moments in movies I've seen in theaters. Period.
Yeah.
It was just, it was art. That's what it was. That was art. That was perfectly demonstrates build up, tension, cathartic peak, release.
Oh, yes.
That is how you pace a monster movie. Oh, before we sign off, though, we're not going to be here next week. We will be at FanimeCon, so...
Yeah.
Wait. We will be at FanimeCon.
It's going to be awesome.
Mm-hmm. FanimeCon next week. And then, I believe... 1, 2...
So we're going to miss...
We're going to
miss X-Men.
Yeah, we're going to miss X-Men. So... I don't know. I'm not entirely too heartbroken about that.
No, I mean, I'll still see it in theaters. You just won't, get it on this.
But, I mean, like, I could take or leave the X-Men movies at this point. I mean, I was surprised by X-Men First Class, but I'm just surprised. Doesn't mean I have to see it again.
Yeah.
So, but, see you in 2 weeks.